What is up, YouTube? We are back with another video. This is going to be another amp demo. Kind of a neat amp today. This little guy. This is the Orange Micro Dark. Now, if you've never seen one of these before, you're probably looking at this thing and thinking, what is this? Is this real? Is this for real? And yes, this thing is very for real. Do not let its size cause you to underestimate it, because this thing is gnarly. So there's a couple of different versions of these like tiny little micro orange amps. They have their like regular Terror series that I think a lot of people are familiar with. The Tiny Terror, or like the Gym Root Terror, even like the OR15, all of these like lunchbox heads. And those heads are great. I've owned a couple of those, and those heads are all tube. They're like 15 watts. They're all tube, but they're way bigger even still than this little guy right here. So the Micro Terror, what's the deal with this thing? It's 20 watts. It's a hybrid amp, so it has a solid state power section, and it has one tube in the preamp. So I would assume that there's other diode, distortion, clipping kind of things going on in the preamp section as well, in conjunction with the one tube. But it does have the one tube, and if you look in the back of the amp, you can see it poking up, one little bitty 12AX7. All it has on the front is volume, shape, which is like your tone, and then gain. These amps are really cool. They're kind of one-trick ponies, though. Only being 20 watts, they do not have any type of headroom whatsoever, especially since it's 20 solid-state watts. It has zero headroom. So all these amps do is gain. They do not do cleans great. The cleans are not awesome. But that's not what we're about here anyway. So clean channels are for dads, so we're here for the gain. And this thing has a ton of gain on tap. So there's a regular, like, I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think it might just be called the Micro Terror. It's the white chassis one. I used to have one of those, and I think the Micro Dark addresses a lot of issues that the Micro Terror had. This has an effects loop in the back of it, which is great. So you can put, delays or reverbs or whatever you want to put in the effects loop. I always like to run a noise gate in the effects loop. So that was one of my issues with the regular Micro Terror, was that even with a noise gate going into the front of the amp, sometimes you'd still get a little hum or something like that. So I like to run a gate in the loop too, and I couldn't do that with the other one. The Micro Dark has the effects loop in the back, so you can run a gate through it if you need to. Let's see. It's only got... Let's see, I'll just flip it around here. Let's just unplug it. How about that? Make life easy here. So, as I was saying, there's your little tube. You can see that guy in the back. There's your effects loop. You have your speaker output. There's your power supply. It comes with a pretty weird power supply. It's 15 volts, which is kind of wacky. So really keep up with the power supply. If you lose that, just, your standard like pedal board power supply is not going to power this thing. So do not lose the power supply that comes with it. The chassis is pretty easy to get into. I've taken one of these apart before and changed the tube in one. It's just a couple of screws here and on the front and on the back and there, and the whole top comes off. It's pretty easy. I like it. There's really not a lot to it. It's super lightweight. And this one has a headphone out on it. I can't remember if the other one does or not. They say the headphone out on this one is cab emulated. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it sounds like garbage, so don't use it. That's pretty much all there is to this little thing. Now, I guess the big question is, why would you buy one of these, right? What is the point of this? So, I think it has a couple of different uses. It just depends on what you're looking for, right? If you're looking for an amp that's going to be like a jam amp, like for band practice or shows, you're going to play with a bass player and a drummer, this ain't it. It's just not. Let's be real. Like, it will get pretty loud. But would I want to try to push this up over a drummer and a bassist? Absolutely not. Because, like I said, there's just no headroom. You don't have any headroom. Once you get to about noon or so on this volume, nothing more happens. It just doesn't get any louder. It just starts to sound worse. So, it's not really for that. It's a good practice amp. If you like practicing with an actual amp through a cabinet, this is really good. What I've really found that these things excel at is in the studio. They're small, they're easy to transport, they're loud enough, they sound great, and they break up really fast. That's the whole point, right? Like, it's not a lot of headroom, it breaks up real quick, it distorts real fast, and you get a ton of gain on tap. So for any kind of gain stuff, any kind of rock or metal or anything like that, it's great. And you can mic it up, you can really push the tube in it, and it likes overdrives pretty good too. Some of these things kind of don't. Some of these little gimmicky, like, you know, tiny little guitar amps don't really like pedals a whole lot. This one likes overdrives. So I did a demo track that you are about to hear, and the demo track, all I did on it with this little guy here was I put a tube screamer in front. You can't really see it; it's kind of out of frame here, but I got a tube screamer, and it's not even a. Hold on, let me just since I've already done the demo track, doesn't matter if the stuff's hooked up or not. This is the tube screamer I used. A More Green Mile. It's a tiny little like $30, $40 tube screamer clone thing. Sounds really good. So you can see my settings on there. Level and tone, domed, gain, all the way off. I had it on the warm setting, not the hot setting. I found that the hot setting on this little switch here was a little much. So I had it on the warm setting. That and a Boss NS2 noise gate. Tried and true. You know, just right into the front of this thing. That's it. Post-processing wise, in Reaper, all I used was some EQ. That's it. I just did kind of a basic high pass, low pass EQ just to kind of deal with some, you know, just to make room in the mix for cymbals and stuff like that. Just standard kind of stuff, nothing super fancy. No fancy mic pre's, no fancy post-processing or anything, just really cute. I mic'd it through my 1960 Marshall cab, and as you can see, I have two mics on it, two SM57s. I talked about this last time with the Marshall Mode 4 demo. One of the things I really like to do when miking a cab is have two mics on there, and one of them I've put directly on the cone of the speaker as close to the grill as I could get it without touching. The other one is right off the cone and maybe an inch back from the grill. So a little more space and a little off the cone. The reason I like to do that is because it gives you two different tones to work with when you're tracking. So I have a brighter tone from the mic that is on the cone, and then I have a darker tone from the mic that's a little further away and off center of the cone. So I get a darker version of this amp sound, and I get a brighter version of this amp sound. And then in Reaper, I can blend those how I want. Normally, I prefer the brighter tone, but it's nice to have that darker tone a little underneath it to kind of fatten it up some. So that's all I've done. You've got two guitar tracks, well, you know, 2 per side, right? The bright one and the dark one on the left, and then the bright one and the dark one on the right. So 4 guitar tracks, but it's not really 4 separate tracks. It's just 2 separate tracks, with the 2 mics blended on each side. There's a lead on this demo that is also this amp. I didn't change anything about it. Used the same miking and everything for the lead tone. The only thing I did different on the lead tone was I threw a little delay on it in post, and I threw a little reverb on it in post, because this amp doesn't have any kind of effects or anything built into it, and I don't have my pedal board with me at the moment, so I use some post delay and reverb in Reaper. That's it. Bass tones will be important in this track too, because there's some stuff going on with the bass tone. I use my P-Bass right here through the Neural DSP Dark Glass plugin, and I think that's it. Yeah, no fancy EQ or anything like that on the bass either. Just some kind of basic stuff, little basic EQ. I didn't even use any post like compression or anything like that on the bass. It's just the tracks like they are with a little bit of EQ on them. That's it. Yeah, so gonna play you the demo track here, and you know, let me know in the comments what you think. I think this amp sounds brutal for what it is. I can't believe it sounds as good as it does to be as small as it is and as portable as it is. It's just crazy that something like this exists. But it sounds awesome. So if you're looking for something to kind of jam in your room with, that's not going to you know, blow the windows out of your house or whatever, you know, if you can't crank up something like this, then this is perfect. You can get you a 112 cab or a 212 cab. They advertise these things with like a tiny little bitty 1.8 cabinet, and those things are garbage. Don't waste your money on that. The little 1.8 orange cab sounds like trash. So a lot of people might hear this amp through one of those and think, oh, this amp is terrible. I'm not going to spend my money on that. It's not the amp. It's that little it's that little cabinet with 1 8-inch speaker in it. It sounds like trash. Don't buy it. Buy you a 112 cabinet or a 212 cabinet and run this thing through it, and it will sound worlds different than that little 1.8 cab that they advertise with it. I promise. Don't even waste your time on that thing. I'm not sure what the price is new on these. I think it's under $200. I bought this one used, so I got a little bit of a deal on it. But I think they're under $200 brand new. And for what it is, it's just great. Like I was saying, yeah, it wouldn't be my main amp to try to get over a drummer and get over a bassist and another guitar player. But if I was playing a venue somewhere where I was being mic'd up, this would totally cut it. And I actually do carry this around with me as a backup amp in case I blow a tube in this thing or something happens to the Mode 4, right? Like, I got some options, so I'm lucky there, but it is nice to have this as a backup. It doesn't take up any room. I have a head case that my Marshall goes in, and this thing just goes in a pocket in there, and it's just there if I need it, and if something happens, I can pull it out real quick, throw it up on top of here, hook it up. I'm mic'd up, show goes on, right? Like, so it's a really great backup. It's a really great studio tool, and I really dig it. So thanks for watching the video. You know, subscribe button, the bell, all the YouTube stuff. Take a listen to the demo. Excuse me. Take a listen to the demo, and yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks.